Afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for joining today's stream. And we have a very exciting topic today. We're going to be talking about envy. Just like, wow, throughout history, envy was always considered undesirable. Yeah, it was something, if you knew somebody who was very envious, this was not considered a good thing. But with the changing world that we live in, many things are now actually promoted as being good, which were not considered desirable about 50 years ago. And so, and this is being promoted as a good thing. So we want to look at this and actually consider, is this heading in the right direction? Is this actually a good thing when we are envious of other people, of what they have? That basically we feel that we want something that someone else has. Yeah. So anyways, before we start, we will have our Gauranga mindfulness meditation. We've all had busy days, many things going on, and our minds actually cause us so many problems when they are agitated, when they're not peaceful. Yeah, our minds are actually supposed to help us in the pursuit of self-realization, on this human journey that we're on. Yeah, that we're actually trying to find real purpose, real lasting happiness and purpose, and that we actually feel content, satisfied. And then envy is not really very much present. Envy basically comes when we're feeling some inner emptiness, and we're looking around the world and we want to fill up this hole. Yeah, and when we see that other people seem to be very happy, or they don't, then we might get envious if we're not a well-wisher, right? So before we start, let's practice our Gauranga deep breathing meditation. Get in a comfortable position and just observe your breath. Is it shallow? Is it deep? Usually throughout the day, we don't breathe very deeply, which is often not such a good thing, because actually the body needs a lot of fresh oxygen. It's good to have deep abdominal breathing, when your abdomen expands while you're breathing in. And when you exhale carbon dioxide. This needs to come out of the body, right? So, and then as you exhale, the belly again contracts, it gets smaller. So we will be adding the mantra Gauranga to this deep breathing. And this has a really powerful effect because it is a spiritual sound, not a material sound. Actually, this spiritual sound, Gauranga, can help the mind to become more peaceful and calm, and it can actually also help relax the body. So if you have stress, or you need to make some important decision, or maybe you're feeling agitated, don't act on any emotion that's suddenly arising in the mind, but rather be calm and peaceful, and first practice this Gauranga deep breathing meditation, and then you will feel much more calm, and you're going to be making better choices. So now, as we inhale through the nose, you can say the mantra Gauranga silently to yourself in your mind. Then you will hold for about 4 or 5 seconds. And then we're all going to say the mantra Gauranga out loud as we exhale through the mouth. So let's try this. Gauranga. 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 Two more. Gauranga. Gauranga. And now let's have a few moments of silence. You can already experience, just from doing this for a few minutes, that your mind is more relaxed and calm afterwards. Yes, so you can, of course, practice this for a much longer period of time or several times throughout the day. Good times in the day are first thing in the morning and also at night before going to sleep. But there's no hard and fast rules. You can practice this whenever you want. So this is a completely non-sectarian process. Anyone and everyone can practice this and benefit from this nice Gauranga deep breathing. So now we will have a few more minutes of Gauranga music meditation. We're going to be using a musical instrument and some melody. Everybody likes music. And when we add this transcendental sound, Gauranga, it's actually really enjoyable. You know, we don't get tired in our meditation when we use the same mantra every time. Isn't that amazing? You know, if somebody told you to say the word tomato every day for hundreds of times, you would be like, can we use something else? And you wouldn't feel any benefit because it's not a spiritual sound, right? But with spiritual sound, we don't get tired of it. We actually like it more and more over time. So you can just listen or sing along, whatever you like. Let's close our eyes for a few more moments, and let's make this our time for introspection and reflection. That we actually consider, who am I? What is my purpose in this world? What is this human experience all about? Is it really just getting more and more stuff? Is that going to make me happy? Or is there some higher happiness, some inner happiness, something that lasts, that is real? This is what we should be considering on a regular basis. Mainstream society promotes certain types of values and lifestyles, but we should not blindly accept them. Whenever we hear some ideas, some propositions, we should always consider, is this in my real benefit? If everybody did this, would the world become a better place? Yes, so we should not blindly accept and we should not blindly reject. It's not so easy. We need to use our intelligence and discern and make real good choices so we can have a better future. So, our topic today, green with envy. As we said, envy is actually something that is not naturally there in a pure heart that is experiencing love for others. Because when you love somebody, you're a well-wisher for them. You want them to be happy. So if you see that somebody has something that you think is good for them or is making them happy, then you would actually be glad to see this. You wouldn't be envious, right? But as we said before, what is envy actually according to ancient wisdom? So let's look a little bit deeper today and try to understand, why is this so common in our societies nowadays? So envy is actually a feeling of discontent or resentful. Some say it's like a feeling of expressing bitterness or indignation at having been treated unfairly, but often it is used, a person is disturbed to see another's fortune, another's good fortune. They're being disturbed at seeing the wealth of somebody else. Just like, oh, why does this person have a sports car, and why do they have such an attractive partner? It's just like we feel, I deserve this, not this other person. I'm not their well-wisher. I want them to, not have any good thing, right? So in ancient wisdom, actually, the influence of envy is considered as the competitor of divine love. Wow. So it means you can't have both, right? It's one or the other. Do we want to experience real love, or do we want to be under the influence of envy? So basically, envy as a noun, as a feeling, as like we said, we're discontent or resentful. And so it's basically, we have this propensity to see other people's well-being with some distress. So even though it does not really help us in any way, so it's basically a reluctance to see our own well-being overshadowed by another, because the standard we use to see, basically we're comparing ourselves to somebody else, and we feel they have more, they have something better, and look at poor me, I never get these good things that I want in life, and so sometimes people are envious with very rich people too, because they feel that if you have a lot of money or fame or power or something, that automatically you must be very, very happy, that's the real success in life. But actually, if we look very closely at the lives of most people who are either wealthy or famous or some, many of them are actually alcoholics or drug addicts. Some of them have committed suicide at relatively young ages of their body. And they have achieved everything materially that a person could possibly want, right? And so then a person should wonder, it's like, wow, is there something else or something more that we should be pursuing, right? Because these people, they were thinking that if they get all these material things, mansions, yachts, luxury cars, as many things as you could possibly have, you can have anybody basically, who you want as your girlfriend or wife or husband or whatever, and still that did not make them satisfied. Just like, wow, this is very interesting. So is it because there was no real inner happiness, no inner love present in the lives of those people? And so basically, we have this feeling of envy when there's something missing in our lives and we don't know how to get it, but we see other people seem to have gotten what we wanted, and we're feeling like, oh, what's this? That person doesn't deserve that. Yeah. So and often, of course, it also comes from us being dissatisfied with whatever we have or what we are doing. Yes. So basically, the things, the people, conditions, or actions that we are doing do not seem to bring us that happiness that we're looking for. Yes. So there is some dissatisfaction, lack of contentment that is actually making our existence miserable. And in that connection, we should always remember we need to have realistic expectations of this world. Yeah, this temporary material world cannot deliver everything that we are looking for, that we're longing for. Because ultimately, that longing for perfect love, for perfect happiness, for joyfulness, carefreeness, no worries, no fears, this is all expression from the eternal spirit soul, who we really are. This comes from deep within the core of our being. These are spiritual longings, and they need to be fulfilled spiritually. They cannot be fulfilled with material energy. It's a wrong energy. It doesn't work. It doesn't matter how much material stuff we get, as we already said. Yeah, we will not fill that need for spiritual happiness, spiritual love. So, but in this world, it's very interesting because when we look at others, it seems like they're happy, right? They're contented, they are fulfilled, and we know inside of ourselves, if we're honest, we're not. And it's very interesting because in this age of nonstop advertising and social media everywhere, and people are always posting all the things that they're doing, of course only the good things, right? Wouldn't want to see them when they're depressed or anything, right? Nobody's posting those things usually of themselves, but we're basically presenting a very fake kind of idea of ourselves and what is really going on as a society. Yeah, we're all pretending that all these things are so great, they're all making us super happy, when actually they're not. And there's ample evidence. Yeah, there's the levels of depression, mental illnesses, suicides, everything is going through the roof. Every year it's growing and growing and growing. And so we need to stop believing this lie that everybody else is happy and we're not. This is the first thing. Yeah, we need to see, okay, everybody's looking for happiness. We're trying so many different things to find happiness, and sometimes we think we found it, but it's just passing pleasure. There's a difference between experiencing pleasure through our body, through our senses, or through our mind, and experiencing real inner happiness, which comes from spiritual love, spiritual relationships. Yeah, so these are very different, and this is what we need. And you can see one way how you can very quickly see which one you have or what you are experiencing is how long it lasts. Yeah, if you're eating ice cream or pizza or something, oh great, I'm so happy. After 5 or 10 minutes, it's over, and just wait. Within half an hour or an hour or something, the mind comes up. Why don't you get some chewing gum, or why don't you have a cookie, or why don't you drink this thing? So it's like it's endless. Yeah, it never ends, which means we never come to that peaceful moment where we feel like, okay, I've had enough. I'm perfectly satisfied. That's it. Of course, we have to eat for the body to function, right? But the point is, we're not looking for these sense flashes all the time. That because many people we're eating to experience sensual pleasure more than actually considering what is good fuel for the body, right? This is the whole problem with health nowadays in this world. Yeah, people eat so much junk food and things that are actually not healthy for their body just because their tongue and their mind, they're just like, this, I want this, I want this. Yeah. And so anyways, we're getting off the topic here, but basically the point is that we should not believe everything that is being told to us, let's say in commercials, that this is it. This will make you happy. If you drink this, if you eat this, oh, bliss, bliss, bliss. It's like, no, sorry, it's not. It doesn't work, And so similarly, in social media, we might be doing this sometimes to our friends or family or maybe strangers. They're just doing it and they're just like, oh, yeah, we're so happy. Everything is so great. Look what I just did, what I experienced, and oh my gosh, it was the best thing ever, and I'm happily ever after. It's like, no, sorry, we know it doesn't work this way in this world. Yeah, happiness and distress come together. The dualities here in this material dimension. You cannot have one without the other. Whenever you're having some material pleasure, some material so-called happiness, just wait. The rainy day will come very soon, and then there's some distress. And sometimes there's a lot of distress. And people have a really hard time handling this. So we got to have realistic expectations and understand this is not our real home. We do the best we can, but ultimately, it's actually not worthwhile to become envious over things which will actually not truly satisfy us from the core of our being. Yeah. And so envy, this feeling of envy actually is considered one of the great enemies, actually, alongside with lust and anger and greed, delusion, pride, envy. These are all like dark clouds that are covering our hearts so that we cannot really experience who we truly are, which is eternal spiritual beings who are meant to be joyful and experiencing happiness and love, right? This is why we are always looking for it, usually in the wrong places. So there's this thing that we need to consider very carefully regarding envy is that where does it come from? It comes from this strong desire, which also called as lust, yeah, that I want to enjoy, I want to have things, I want to experience things. I'm the central enjoyer of my human journey. I'm the center, I'm the most important person. And so I must have these things. Yes. And so basically from lust comes anger, and they're both included in greed. And from that comes delusion, and pride is also often present. And envy actually encompasses all of this: lust, anger, greed, delusion, and all kinds of pride. So if we want to prevent anger from occurring in first place, we need to very carefully consider what we focus on. What do we make the the goal of our lives. Yeah, this human journey is temporary. It will come to an end. And what do we want to have accomplished by the time we leave? Do we want to have a lot of stuff surrounding us that we collected, and then we have to leave it all behind, and we're going to be worried about, oh, what's going to happen? Who's going to get it? Or they're going to fight over my things, or I'm so attached to my house, I don't want to leave, but I have to leave this body. It's already 80 years old and not functioning anymore. Or do I want to experience real peacefulness, that I'm satisfied with what I have achieved, that I experience some contentment, that yes, I have used my time and energy in order to cultivate the spiritual qualities of love and compassion, forgiveness, selflessness, caring for others. Yeah, and I feel like, oh, I've not wasted my whole life, right? Sometimes people feel that way, and it's a very, very sad situation, because they're not very peaceful and happy, and they wish they could have done things differently. But here it is, they have to go, and they don't know where they're going either. And so this is not the best situation. So as we said already, envy seems to be multiplying exponentially in the modern world, because it's no longer considered something undesirable. Rather, we see it, in some commercials, just like, oh, you're driving this 5-year-old car, and your neighbor just got a new car. And now you're supposed to be wanting an even newer and better car than what your neighbor had, right? So this is actually being promoted. This idea is put into people's minds, that just like, you can't be driving that old clunker anymore. It's just like, it's an embarrassment. Just like, oh my goodness. Or with clothes, the whole fashion industry, it's always about the latest season. Fall season is coming. Oh, you got to buy new clothes. You can't wear the stuff from last year. Are you crazy? So basically, we got to be aware and have our eyes open to actually see what's going on in this world. Yes, so we have social media, internet, smartphones. This quality of envy is promoted everywhere. If you have a teenage child, teenage daughter or son, and you don't give them a smartphone by the time they're 12, 13 years old, they think you're tormenting, because they see all their friends having smartphones, and they get envious in some way, and they feel like they're missing out. Yeah. So there's this term, social media envy too, which means when we are resentful to the lifestyle or aspect of someone else's life, as seen through the eyes of social media. Yeah, and so this can actually be really, really difficult for children, teenagers, especially when they're home a lot, and all they do is they try to have online relationships. They become lonely, anxious, depressed when they see that other people seem to be having such a great time, and they're feeling like purposeless. They don't have any real friends. Yeah, they have maybe 200 Facebook friends, but none of them they really know and relating in a close, meaningful way. Yeah. So we have to be also careful how we are presenting ourselves to others. Yeah, because everything that we're looking at is to some degree posed or selected to show up with the objective that this person will be appreciated or admired or even envied. So everything that we see on social media is to some degree framed, posed, or designed to be liked, right? And so this can be very innocent things. It can be just like somebody playing with their dog or showing their little baby or something, and they just want to share it with their family, which lives on the other side of the country or something. And we're not really talking about that so much, but we're talking about the people, who are just like, oh, here, selfie, oh, I look so good today, and oh, best clothes that I just bought, and oh my gosh, look at my beautiful body, and so forth and so on, right? And the problem is, of course, if we value our self-esteem, who how people see us, why people like us, based on this temporary appearances, which always changes and which doesn't change for the better, then we're in big trouble, because in the years to come, you don't want to do this anymore, right? Just like, oh, who wants to see this wrinkle and gray hair and fat belly and whatever, people are going to be like, oh, do you really have to show those pictures of yourself now? Just like, I don't mind looking the pictures of you from 10 years ago, but this thing just like, and you feel like your self-esteem just dropped, like, by 50% or more, just like, oh, this person doesn't really like me anymore. And why is that? Because we feel inside, I'm the same person, right? My body has changed, and now nobody really cares for me anymore, right? That's what happens to all the beautiful, famous people when they're in their 20s and 30s. They have millions of followers, and everybody talks about them. Once they get into their 50s, nobody wants to see them anymore, talk about them. Oh, it's all over. Forget it, And so it's very conditional, and it's very external. It's very superficial, yeah. So we need to be very thoughtful and mindful how we approach everything we do, actually, in this human journey. What type of image am I trying to present to others? Do I want others to envy me? So when we actually use social media, and we use it regularly, and we think it can be used in very, very good ways, so we need to have a somewhat different mindset. Yeah. So rather than trying to impress others or make them envious of me, or me maybe being envious of others and always checking what are other people doing, and so forth and so on. Basically, I'm just looking for some little drop of excitement or happiness. No, we should try to use social media actually in order to help others, for others to become more peaceful, more happy, to try to be uplifting, inspiring, right? And so we need to have something of value inside of ourselves that we can share with others. Yeah? Because if we don't have anything, we cannot share it with others, right? But if we have some happiness, some internal happiness that is coming from actually trying to be caring and loving for others, trying to help others, then that's a beginning to a completely different journey, a journey of loving service. So we should think before we click. Yeah, it's like, let's be mindful of the impact of the post that I'm doing here. This post should be enlightening and not create enviousness. Yeah. So this is a deep subject, and there's a lot more we can talk about, obviously. And so we also know how we are being influenced very easily by others. Yeah. That in every relationship, there's always this kind of subtle, sometimes not so subtle, influence going on, right? One person is usually influencing the other in one way or another. Maybe they're influencing each other on different ideas or topics or whatever, but it's a reality. And that's why they even say a misery loves company, because those people who are unhappy, they want to bring other people down. They're envious of their supposed happiness, that they're better off than themselves. Yeah. And so sometimes people then feel like, oh, this envy is like toxic. I need to get away from this. When we see that other people are envious, then actually they're not well-wishers of others. Yeah, they're not feeling happy for others being happy. Whether it's passing material happiness or real spiritual happiness, actually, it's the same thing. Yeah, it's like if somebody is doing really, really nice, really well spiritually too. Are we gonna be like envious of that person? We're gonna say, oh, it's all fake. They're not really like this. They're just looking to take advantage of other people. And look, he's getting donations already or something. Yeah. And so always, like an envious person usually has this fault finding tendency too. Yeah. They always want to put other people down. And so it can be very dangerous because not everybody is in that same consciousness that I am in. Yes, so we often make that mistake of thinking that everybody else is in the same consciousness that I am in. Just because I might be unhappy or self-centered or envious, not wishing others well, maybe looking for faults in others, it doesn't mean that everybody else in the world is like that. Maybe a good number of people are. But if I project this onto everybody else, this is quite dangerous, because then I'm basically accusing others of things that they are not. And I miss out on the benefit of having maybe a very rewarding relationship with somebody who is actually my well-wisher, who actually loves others, who is not in that exploitative mentality. Yeah, so we need to be thoughtful, we need to be careful that we actually don't cultivate this consciousness of envy, yeah, by our choices. That it doesn't mean if we are engaging in some kind of sports or games or some kind of competition, healthy competition can be very good, it can be really fun. But when we are feeling very unhappy when somebody else is winning and I always have to be the one who wins or something, then be careful. That's already not such a good sign. Yeah. So other signs of envy, of course, like we mentioned already, they include when we are unhappy when others achieve some type of success. We're trying to diminish another person's success. Yeah, we're going to say, oh, they only won that contest because other people didn't show up, or they didn't try, or he cheated or something. Yeah, so basically we try to put others down. We sometimes judge people. And here's the worst thing: we're actually happy when other people face setbacks. See, when another person is now not doing well anymore, and we say, oh, see, I told you, the person cheated last time, or they're not a good person, and da 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 da. And all of this, really, is this really going to help us? Is this really going to make us any happier, more fulfilled? No. It's actually all on the mental level. And it gives a little bit of excitement for a moment on a mental level, yeah, where we feel superior, where we can judge somebody else, put them down, and I think, oh, I'm so much better, I'm not like that.